juvenile record and no criminal history as an adult. His past incidents with the Greenwood Police Department include minor offenses as a juvenile, such as a fight at school and being a juvenile runaway. He does not drive. We believe that he walked to the Greenwood Park Mall last night. We were told by family members that he typically walks or Ubers to wherever he needs to go. We know the ATF, their specialty is weapons. As soon as we got in and started processing the crime scene last night, the ATF took the serial number information and immediately began the process of tracking down when and where those guns were purchased. If you have questions from the ATF representative here, once I'm done, he will be available to answer more specifics. However, the weapon used by Mr. Sapirman last night was a Sig Sauer Model 400M 5.56 caliber weapon, rifle. It was purchased on March 8th, 2022 here in Greenwood. The second weapon recovered, this was in the bathroom, was a M&P 15 5.56 rifle. It was purchased on March 9th, 2021 from a gun store here in Greenwood. Mr. Sapirman also had on his person a Glock 33 .357 caliber pistol. The only weapon used by Mr. Sapirman last night was the Sig Sauer Model 400M rifle. He had multiple magazines and over 100 rounds of ammunition on his person and in his possession. We know that from family members that he has been practicing shooting at Range USA. The ATF has made contact with Range USA and received records from them that show that he was frequently using their range and purchasing ammunition at that location for the past 2 years. We know that he recently resigned from a warehouse position back in May, and we have not confirmed yet. Detectives are serving a subpoena as we speak to Polo Run apartment complex to find out if he in fact was being evicted. We were told by family members that they believed he had received an eviction notice. That has not been confirmed at this time. We did locate a cell phone belonging to Mr. Sapirman in a toilet in the stall in the bathroom. We believe he placed it there prior to exiting the restroom to begin his shooting spree. The following is a timeline of events. We know that Mr. Sapirman, through surveillance video, entered the mall at entrance 4 by the food court at 4:54 p.m. He walks directly to the food court restroom. 1 hour and 2 minutes later, he exits the restroom and shoots Victor Gomez outside of the restroom. He then points his rifle into the food court where Pedro and Rosa Pineda were eating dinner and shot both Rosa and Pedro. He then fired several more rounds into the food court, striking a 22-year-old female who is currently recovering from a leg wound at Eskenazi Hospital, and a bullet fragment believed to have ricocheted off of a wall did strike a 12-year-old female who was running towards exit 4 in the back. That was a minor wound treated at the hospital. They did remove a small piece of metal jacket, most likely from a ricochet. At 5:57 p.m., the shooter was confronted by our Good Samaritan, who I will identify in just a moment. The Good Samaritan was armed with a pistol and engaged the shooter as he stood outside the restroom area firing into the food court. The shooter fired several rounds, striking the suspect. The suspect attempted to retreat back into the restroom and fell to the ground after being shot. We recovered 24 .223 rifle rounds shot by the suspect and 10 handgun rounds fired by the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan, once again, he has authorized us to release his name. He is requesting you give him time to process and grieve himself before reaching out to him. His name is Elijah Dickon, and that is spelled E-L-I-S-J-S-H-A, and he resides in Seymour, Indiana. He was at the mall last night with his girlfriend shopping. One last thing that I would like to get help from the media is there were several personal property items left behind. When you have an incident like this, it's complete chaos. People left shopping bags, they left cell phones, wallets, a lot of personal property. We have recovered that personal property and is currently being entered into our property room. Tomorrow, anyone who is missing a personal item left behind can come to the Greenwood Police Training Center located at 736 Lowe's Boulevard between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. There will be officers there to assist them in getting their personal property back. We ask them to bring a form of identification so that we can positively identify the person we're giving the property to. At this time, I will open it up for questions.
Chief, can you spell the name of the suspect, sir?
Yes. It's Jonathan Sapirman, and it is spelled Jonathan Sapirman.
Chief, can you tell us about the Good Samaritan? Even though there's not a gun permit in Indiana, what was the status of his permit and his level of cooperation with the investigators?
We could not find that he had a permit. He was carrying legally under the constitutional carry law.
What kind of firearm did he have?
He had a Glock handgun, I believe.
One other question. You identified originally the SIG as .556?
.556.
And you also said 223. Are those the same?
Okay. .556. Yes, they're very similar. They shoot .223 rounds also.
So how should we identify them? As 223?
.556.
Okay, Chief, can you tell us about the conversation between your detectives and your Good Samaritan, what he expressed to them? And he obviously, this has been a difficult situation for him. Can you explain how he explained to you he went through this process?
Well, I personally didn't speak to him. I did watch the video, the surveillance video, which captured pretty much the entire incident. I will say his actions were nothing short of heroic. He engaged the gunman from quite a distance with a handgun, was very proficient in that, very tactically sound, and as he moved to close in on the suspect, he was also motioning for people to exit behind him. He has, to our knowledge, he has no police training and no military background.
As you watched that tape, were you able to explain to yourself what would have happened if this man had been, let's say, at J.C. Penney at the other end of the mall instead of right there? How much worse would this have been?
At that time of night on a Sunday, I couldn't speculate. I don't know. I don't know how many people were in that area of the mall.
Chief, you talked that training paid off, that you've trained before with other agencies. Can you, without giving away the trade secrets, explain how you were able to coordinate with your fellow law enforcement to respond and reach a successful situation?
Sure. So in an incident like this, when an active shooter situation goes out, there's several. First thing that happens is officers from other agencies hear it dispatched, officers at home get pages, officers in the area that might be off duty in their vehicles with radios on all hear it, and they automatically expedite to the scene. So we have a lot of self-reporting LEOs that may not be on duty from other agencies. Basically, everybody runs to help, which is great, but it can also be chaotic and cause problems if it's unorganized. So the first thing that we have to do is create staging points for self-reporting LEOs and assign a supervisor to that staging point to monitor who's coming in and keep track of where people are. The second is to establish an incident command and a unified command with all agencies that are responding. So all of the individuals you see behind me were the head of their agencies on the scene. We all met at one location, and there was one point of contact via radio traffic between dispatch and commanders that were responsible for had specific responsibilities inside the mall, whether it be clearing, whether it be fire, rescue, SWAT team members, bomb squad members. So it all comes through a central point of command with everyone you see behind me at the command center. We also obviously have to prepare for media, have to prepare for people that are looking for loved ones, reunification sites, for those who don't know where their loved ones are to gather. So we immediately established that at our training center and got that out on social media and within the media for family members to report there. And then you just start processing as the incident commander for the agency within the jurisdiction. The first thing I did was call for the FBI. This is something that they are very well versed in, and they have both the manpower and the resources necessary. I knew we were going to need that. Because there were firearms available, this was involved. This was an active shooter incident. The ATF, they have resources, just as I explained earlier. They can track down where weapons were bought and when they were bought and histories very, very quickly, much faster than we can. So you just start pooling resources and getting organized, and pretty much everything else falls into place. You treat the wounded, evacuate the mall, set up perimeters, and once everything's clear, you move in to begin your investigation. And the investigations go further out. They go, once we identify the shooter, then we have to get search warrants for the shooter's house. And then we move to the house. So it's very methodical, very slow, but everyone did exactly what they were supposed to last night.
Have you found anything in terms of motive yet, or did the shooter have any connection to the mall beyond being a resident that you're aware of?
No.
Did he leave any sort of indication? Did anybody in his circle fear this was coming, or was there any note or any phone message left behind?
No, the FBI forensic team has his cell phone. It was wet. They're going through the process of drying it out to try to extract information from it. Right now, we have no motive. His family members that we spoke to, they were just as surprised as everyone else was. They said there were no indicators that he was violent or unstable.
Is there any evidence that this was directed toward the Hispanic community?
None at this time, no.
You mentioned the videotape, the surveillance videotape. Will that be released, and if so, when?
No. No, it is much too graphic.
Do you know how many people were in the food court at the time? Dozens, or was it just spread out?
I think dozens would be accurate.
Chief, can you go through this timeline? It looks like this all happened by the time you started shooting to the time he was taken down. 2 minutes?
Yeah, so like I said, the most puzzling piece of this puzzle is the fact that he was in that restroom for an hour and 2 minutes. We believe, and we don't want to speculate, but we believe he was getting ready. He had a waistband holster on with several magazines. He had a backpack that had the second assault or second rifle broken down in it so that it would fit in there. Several rounds of ammunition. So we think that he was kind of preparing for his actions during that hour and 2 minutes. And then, as you can see, once he came out and started shooting, it was 2 minutes by the time the first shot was fired until he was neutralized by our Good Samaritan.
Anything recovered outside of the mall that pertains to this investigation you're able to talk about at this point?
No.
What were the first
was he escorted out, taken into custody? Do you have to identify who this person actually was and that he wasn't the actual shooter?
Correct, yes. He was handcuffed. His gun was collected. We took him back to the Greenwood Police Department where detectives interviewed him, confirmed his statements. Once we were able to view the video, his statements correlated with the video, and
When you encountered him, can you tell us about that? I mean, did he drop the gun? Was he standing with his hands up? How do you know him from a second shooter?
yeah, and that's always a concern. That's always a concern because he was in civilian clothes with, shorts and a T-shirt on. So he cooperated fully when officers arrived. He actually approached mall security and told them that he was the one that neutralized the shooter and waited for the officer's arrival.
Is there any reason to believe that the shooter was under the influence of any kind of alcohol, drug use?
Not at this time. We'll know more after toxicology results are returned from the autopsy.
Was the alleged shooter live alone or with his family?
I'm sorry?
Did the alleged shooter live with his family?
He lived alone.
Did
Okay.
you clothes in the bathroom too, or like a change of clothes?
I'm not aware.
Was anyone with the husband and wife who were killed? Did they have any kids or any family members or anyone with them? Do you know?
Not to my knowledge.
Chief, the two 5.56 rifles, they were purchased legally, were they purchased by the suspect or?
Yes. Yes. Are there any other questions for any of the professionals standing behind me?
What were the first 911 calls that came in on this?
Okay, the first 911 calls were of an active shooter in the food court at the mall. That brings up a very good point. The Johnson County 911 Center is set up, if they get overwhelmed, if there's too many calls coming in for them to answer, if all lines are busy, those 911 calls are routed to the Bartholomew County 911 Center. So the Bartholomew County 911 Center received, I talked to Sheriff Myers this morning, and he said they received about 50 calls. So they were trying to decipher, and the sheriff sent his deputies to the mall to assist us with clearing it. So Bartholomew County also played a very pivotal role in this.
Is there any evidence that the shooter and the Good Samaritan exchanged, or that the shooter shot at the Good Samaritan?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Is there any evidence that the shooter had any history of mental illness or mental health treatment?
Not to my knowledge.
You mentioned the subpoena to search the Bull Run apartment, or is there something you guys?
Oh, we did search the apartment last night. The subpoena is to get his rental records. It's not something they would release to us verbally without a subpoena, but we have been told by family members that he had received an eviction notice.
So did he live there, Chief?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Did you search the apartments?
We did. Yes, we found when the SWAT team went in to clear it, the oven was on high temperature and had a laptop within the oven and a can of butane. I don't want to speculate what his intentions were, whether it could have been to cause a fire or to damage the laptop, but we did retrieve the laptop, and that is going to go to Quantico to be analyzed. It's been damaged due to the heat in the oven.
Chief, the last time we saw a heating source with something in it was a Southside explosion at Richmond Hill, if you may recall, a number of years ago. Was he trying to copy that?
It would be speculation. I don't know what his intention was. It does appear that he placed his cell phone in the toilet, in the water, and the laptop in the oven. So we are very curious to have those analyzed. Right now, they're going to, the phone is in possession of the FBI, and the laptop is going to be sent to Quantico.
Chief, do you think it's good to have armed citizens like the Good Samaritan out there to stop shooters?
I will answer that this way. Many more people would have died last night if not for a responsible armed citizen that took action very quickly within the first 2 minutes of this shooting.
Chief, a question for the FBI. Sir, Special Agent, does this gentleman, because of profile, you folks spend a lot of time investigating these types of shootings coast to coast. In this case here in Greenwood, did this gentleman, based on what you know currently, and what you were to learn, does he fit the profile?
Excuse me.
If I'm
Pardon me.
asking the question, and if the question is inartful, just want to figure out, is this the kind of guy that would do this?
No, I understand the question. What I would say to that is there really is no one profile. It would be, it would be an overreach to say that this person fits a specific profile. So each case is a little different. We have to investigate it on its own merits with our partners. And so, we're still learning more about the shooter, as we mentioned, through the search warrant and other investigation that the Greenwood Police Department is doing. And so we'll continue to take a look at that. But I wouldn't say there's any one specific profile that is capable of conducting this type of attack.
The majority of these active shooters have been white males who've had some sort of trauma or some sort of mental illness. So does he not fit that?
So as I mentioned, we know that he's a white male, but we're still learning more about the shooter, and it's probably too premature to say that he fits a specific profile. And again, we do see these types of acts from people of a varying array of backgrounds, and so we don't want to get too tunnel vision focused on one particular profile.
What resources did you bear on this investigation? The FBI does have a national base, so how did you support Greenwood in trying to come to this conclusion, and how will you support them moving forward?
So up to this point, our role in the investigation has been primarily in assisting Greenwood Police and our other law enforcement partners in the collection and processing of evidence. As the chief mentioned, we have been requested to take a look at the cell phone and attempt to do a forensic exploitation of that. And we'll continue to provide any type of technical assistance that Greenwood or our other partners may need.
Since the phone was wet, is there a timeline of the possibility of you're able to access it here and there?
No, we don't have a timeline. We're working as fast as we can to try to get the phone to a point where it can be exploited. But there's no guarantee that we'll be able to recover any data. We're just working as fast as we can to try to get that done.
And on the laptop, is similar timeline?
Same thing. We don't have a timeline for that. We have to talk with the technical experts to see what is technically possible in this type of situation. Work with the Greenwood Police Department to see what we might be able to do to exploit the data, but we're working on that as quickly as we possibly can. I'll defer that question to the chief. His team was responsible for that search.
No, there were none.
And you mentioned they were purchased. I just want to be clear. The guns that were used that you found at the mall, those were purchased by the suspected shooter?
Yes.
Were they modified in any way?
No, not to my knowledge.
Have you talked to the family of any of the victims yet?
Yes. All of the victims' families were notified by the coroner.
Was the backpack the only thing that triggered the bomb squad last night?
Yes, and then also at the apartment, once the SWAT team found the butane in the oven, they backed out and the bomb squad came in and cleared the apartment of explosives.
And for the ATF, you mentioned, Chief, that you would run trace of this particular gun. Had it been used before at other crime scenes, or just based on the types of tests that you all run?
Yes, so we will submit the fired cartridges to our National Integrated Ballistic Information Network to determine if it was used in a crime in the past, but that will take some time to get that back, but that's in process right now. Chief, is there any reason to believe that the shooter knew any of these victims personally in any way?
No, we don't believe so. How many bullets? How many bullets? No body armor.
The first person that died, the shooter, the first shooter, how many times?
Our suspect? I don't know at this time, but over 100.
Chief, did the suspect go to Greenwood High, Southport?
I believe he was a graduate of Greenwood High School.
Is the family of the gunman cooperating with the investigation right now?
Yes.
Do you know if the gunman planned to kill himself or had an escape plan?
No. He right now we have no motive at all.
Chief, how are you all doing going through all of this? You've practiced this for years. Obviously, this is a real thing. How are you all doing?
Well, thank you for asking that. This is very traumatic for the first responders on the scene. They're professionals. I will say that, like I said, I have been involved in several of these training scenarios, and we stage them to look like the real incident. And walking in there for me last night was surreal because it looked just like every incident we've staged. So the first responders are doing well. We have a post team They will probably meet Wednesday or Thursday of this week with all individuals, first responders, paramedics, police officers that were on the scene. It's a team of local mental health professionals and individuals in law enforcement that are trained to specifically deal with traumatic events that first responders experience. So they will be getting that assistance this week.
Chief, just to be clear, you said the suspect fired 24 rounds?
Suspect fired 24 rounds.
Mr. Dickens fired 10?
Yes.
And what caliber were the rounds he fired?
Deputy Chief, do you know what caliber Mr. Dickens' handgun was? 9 millimeter.
Thank you.
Do you know if the suspect has any sort of a social media presence?
No, I don't believe so.
When you walked into the mall, could you see these guns, or were they hidden, like you talked about the time you spent in the bathroom?
Yeah, so rifles are able to be broke down into two pieces. We believe that he carried them in a bag. Okay, thank you.
Can we ask one more question? Have any of the family members of the victims asked you guys to share anything on their behalf that they'd like us to share at this point?
No, but I will release, we do have a photo of our suspect. I will release that to you after this press
Could
conference.
you spell his first name again, please? I didn't get it.
Which one?
Mr. Dickens, Elijah?
It is spelled ELISJSHA.
Spell last name, please.
DICKEN.
And the bystander,
Thank you.
This concludes our press conference for now. I'm sure you'll be getting more information as it's known to our departments. Thank you very much.